also would like to acknowledge that we are meeting here today on Wiradjuri country and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to pay a really big thanks actually to 3 agencies, 2 of which are in the room today. Certainly as we were entering the COVID lockdown, I think my almost daily conversations with Sam as I was pounding the streets of Canowindra, kind of putting off home parenting and homeschooling with Sam, kept us going, and certainly the vision for tourism for the region going, and just having the ability to be able to understand where the opportunities were and have some direct links into Canberra. So thank you, Sam, very much in terms of the support that the RDA has given the region, not just for today's event, but also for everything that you've done with your team over the past 3 to 4 months. I'd also like to acknowledge Vicky Seckham from Business New South Wales, who once again was a terrific resource for us to be able to keep up to date with what the current COVID policies were coming out in a very changing landscape, particularly when we had a lot of Airbnb and accommodation providers not being able to be kept up to date. And certainly Vicky would go straight to the Minister to be able to find out that information for us that we could share with our members. And I'd also like to thank the work that BizHQ did. Certainly they were one of the first agencies to make sure that they were providing webinars for people to be able to understand how they could best utilise their time in lockdown, what they could do in terms of building digital capacity, and I'm sure a lot of those will be dived into with the speakers later on today. So thank you for that. But what I will start to talk about is obviously who Orange360 is, where we see our opportunities into the future, and what is central to that. And certainly, as I said before, I will be really talking about the why you need to do some of these things, and then the speakers following me will really go into how you do that. So Orange360, it came out of the wine industry about 15 years ago because they realised that working together was actually going to establish this region as a great international wine region, and we're seeing really the benefit of their vision and foresight 15 years ago. And more recently, 3 years ago, we then joined forces in terms of Orange City Council, who have always been a very generous funder of our organisation. We are membership based, but we benefit from the support of Orange City Council, and in the last 3 years, Cabonne Council and also Blaney Council, because they see when people come into our region, they don't acknowledge that they're driving through 3 different LGAs, and sometimes we forget that as well. And that's fantastic because being unified and working together will get us there a lot quicker. So our membership, we've got just under 300 members. Now, if you have a look, that shows you the breakdown of what our membership base looks like. So you can see their accommodation is now our #1 segment. What do you think our second segment is? Anybody? Aha, most of you said wineries. Our second largest membership segment is actually retail. It's then followed by our cellar doors and our wineries. We have 35 cellar doors. As Reg shared before, it started a couple of decades ago with people who saw that the basalt soils here and having a high altitude was going to produce some beautiful, elegant, food-friendly, cool climate wines. And certainly they continue to build in that reputation. And that was acknowledged earlier in the week when Printhie were there, and their Swift Sparkling actually celebrated the 100th year of Qantas. So it goes to show how hard this region has worked. And if you look at the number of wineries and cellar doors, we've got 35 compared to the Hunters 150. So when you start to think about how we work together, we really do punch above our weight. And then dining, and as you can see, what's fantastic about Orange360 is that we have a really diverse membership base. Who here in the room actually is a member of Orange360? Fantastic. For those of you who aren't, I'd ask you to consider at the end of this presentation, because we have a mantra that every business and everybody that lives in our region benefit from tourism. So hopefully I get to share that over the next couple of minutes. In terms of what we call our destination dial, most people, just listening to your response, you think that we talk predominantly about food and wine. Yes, because we've come out of the wine industry, yes we do. And they are one of our number one attractions because we do have those 35 cellar doors. But certainly you can see as we go across, and particularly now, and what we're seeing with the trends that are coming out with what people are wanting to do when they're wanting to escape the city, certainly nature and the great outdoors is a fundamental pillar, and it always has been. If you think about how beautiful our landscapes are, but they are magnificent as well in terms of the production of the food that we enjoy as well. Certainly our culture, and as Reg also alluded to, our heritage, our gold heritage, but also our beautiful historic villages. And if you think about where we came from 3 years ago when we worked together with Blaney and the Bond Council to develop a broader offering to our visitors, it enables people that are staying here to want to linger longer, because what they're starting to see and learn is just how fabulous those villages are and being connected. And certainly we've seen since the June long weekend, lots and lots of people coming out over the Great Divide, realising that their car will make it up and past Lithgow to come out and explore the broader Central West. And certainly what we're hearing is they want to go out and explore the great outdoors, but they also are wanting to connect, and it's been fabulous watching people walk through the little villages. I live in Canowindra, and you can certainly see a real bustle there on a Saturday morning, but even midweek. And then of course we've got retail, because we all love a bit of retail therapy when we go shopping, and it's interesting to see how much that they're getting on board, and we've been continuing to work and develop our members in that segment as well. So what does success look like for us? Towards the end of last year, the board and our management team got together and said, what does the strategic vision for Orange360 look like for the next 4 years to align with the council's election and planning program? We originally had said that we wanted to become, a leading regional destination. The word regional has removed. We want to become a leading Australian destination. And certainly you can see the volume of traffic that are coming out here. And certainly, in fact, that Qantas has now included us as a regional airport as part of their legs, and being able to, when the borders do open up, being able to have people fly in and transfer at Sydney and have their luggage transferred all the way through to Orange actually shows the possibility of us actually being one of Australia's leading destinations. How are we going to get there? Exactly as we've been talking about in terms of regional collaboration. Not just working at a council level, but working together as Orange360 members and in our community associations as well. Having some consistent messaging, being able to make sure that everybody who lives in our region understands that we are a fabulous destination. We produce some of not just Australia's best cool climate wines, but some of the world's best cool climate wines. The fact that as a region, in terms of the diversity of produce that you can source, yes, we grow canola, yes, we grow beef, yes, we grow sheep, we grow garlic, we grow wonderful stone fruit and apples and cherries, saffron over in Milthorpe. That in itself is something that we all need to be proud of and make sure that we're continuing to invite people to come out and enjoy the spoils of our region. Industry engagement, but also agency engagement. What I've seen over the last couple of months in terms of what I alluded to before with the work and the collaboration driven by the RDA and working closely with BizHQ, but also Business New South Wales, but also working with the Department of Premier and Cabinet to be able to understand, well, where are the funding opportunities, of which, as every speaker has said, there are lots of opportunities, not just for Orange360 to benefit from, but for each of you to benefit from as small business operators as well. They're here to help you grow confidence and then reinvest in your businesses. And we're here to help and support you do that as well. We see that as one of our fundamental reasons for being, is to be able to advocate on small businesses' behalf to make sure that you're being heard in Macquarie Street and also at a federal level as well. And when I say strategic growth, we did an audit of the number of beds that are in our region about 18 months ago. And across the 3 LGAs, there's only 2,500 beds. So if we continue to push out our marketing, once we're full, we're full. What we need to understand is how we can grow that and achieve investment to be able to increase our capacity. Because we've got that increased capacity, then we're able to increase our visitor economy. And I've also been given the 5-minute wind up as well. So I'm going to go through these slides quite quickly. So in terms of, I just want to be able to show where we've come from. So since 2017, Tourism Research Australia basically said that our region was missing out on a significant tourism boom. But if you have a look at the points underneath that, our visitor economy was valued at this is for the Orange region, $241 million in 2017. Collectively, the Orange360 region in 2019 is now worth $398 million. We employ over 6,000 people in our industry, but we also have the flow-on benefit of people that earn money from that industry but then go and spend it in other industries. If we didn't have a visitor economy and we didn't have a tourism segment and a tourism industry, each household across the 3 LGAs would be required to spend an additional $15,000 per household per annum. That's a significant uplift that we would need to look for. We don't need to have that because we've got a really strong and emerging tourism in visitor economy. So in terms of our key achievements, even though we had nobody coming for 3 to 4 months of this year, we also grew by 14%. Our visitor economy grew by just under 20%. We achieved $1 million worth of funding that we are a not-for-profit organisation that we have reinvested back into our destination marketing. The Extend the Weekend campaign was awarded a gold award for destination marketing, and certainly it targeted a younger audience. We have always traditionally appealed to the 55 plus market. We wanted to see how can we grow that is to actually target a new audience, and we targeted the 28 to 34-year-old. So if you're thinking about your business, thinking about your customer base, think about what are you doing to target that younger audience as well as our traditional older audience as well. That same campaign took out a silver award at the Australian Tourism Awards. Overall, we invested $262,000 in that campaign. We were just picked by about 2 points for gold, and their investment in terms of the Bendigo Tudor art exhibition, they invested $3 million. Once again, as a region, I think punching above our weight. So in terms of what our current opportunities, our standard membership is $300. This website attracts close to, at the moment, 20,000 unique visitors a month. So we think that's a pretty good value investment in terms of making sure that your business is actually listed on there. And certainly what we do is we then help visitors to our region navigate their way through our region in terms of creating maps. Part of what we're also seeing at the moment is this real love of Australian grown and Australian made, and certainly pick your own. And as we're coming into the stone fruit season, in cherries, I know our Visitor Information Centre is already receiving calls as to when the cherries are going to be ripe and ready for the picking. Knowing this information and being able to be aware of what people are looking for when they're coming into region to be able to help direct them is also fantastic. And being able to make sure that if you are in the dining section, being able to highlight that you do actually have orange produce on your menu. Certainly I know Ben and Alvaro are here in the room today, so hello. And one of our goals and our vision, whether it actually happens in the next 3 years, but we're going to keep talking about it, is to introduce an Orange360 bicycle tourism project, where we will not only have benefit from people who are aware of Orange, but how do we actually disperse those visitors out into our villages? And it's creating direct linkages and being able to provide a diverse bicycle tourism product, being able to appeal to those that like wearing lycra, to those that like to be able to get rough and ready on the mountain, and just to be able to have some country trails where families can come and enjoy our beautiful landscapes. in the safety as well. Domestic tourism, we were at a conference 2 weeks ago where TripAdvisor advised us, along with Tourism Australia, that currently domestic tourism, as Australians, we take 85 million trips per year at a value of $50 billion. So in terms of whilst our borders, our international borders are closed off, we have the opportunity to secure them coming into our region. And Orange360 is working really hard, along with all of our members, to make sure that when people are thinking about where they are going to discover the next region, that they're making sure that Orange is at the top of their list. Certainly in terms of important COVID factors, number one on people's list of where they're choosing when they're wanting to stay somewhere or where they're wanting to travel is they want to know they're safe. Making sure that you are COVID compliant. One of the things that TripAdvisor advised us, who here in the room has actually on TripAdvisor? Okay, have you ticked your COVID, that you are COVID safe on TripAdvisor? Only 2% of businesses across Australia have done it. There's a huge opportunity to make sure that you're actually out there. Making sure that people feel safe is their number one thing when they're looking to which destination and where they're going to travel. They're looking for the great Aussie regional road trip. They're wanting to explore small places. They want to know that they can go to somewhere where there is good food and wine. They want to be out there in the great outdoors. They're looking for quality and unique. So price isn't their driver. So don't be afraid to charge, and certainly what we're seeing is more of our businesses actually charging for local tours to be able to take them on guided tours. And looking at Nicole at the back of the room there in terms of being able to offer people a unique and quality experience, and they are very happy to pay for that. They also want to know what your policies are. They want to know that there is clarity and there is flexibility. Look at what's happened in South Australia in the last 48 hours. They want to know if there is going to be a cancellation fee or what that will be. You just need to be clear and upfront. Now I'm going through this really, really quickly because Steve's really pushing me along. So what is marketing today? These guys are all going to share with you. Now I'm also seeing that Cheryl Newsom from the Orange app is in the room. And Cheryl and I used to work together almost not quite a decade ago. And these are some slides that Cheryl actually used to share in one of her presentations in terms of what marketing is today. And certainly what we're seeing is you have to have a plan and stick to your plan. Certainly when there are uncertain times, if you know what your goal is, stick to it, and it allows you to change what your strategy will be. And this is something that Cheryl often spoke to me about in terms of passive and active marketing. Passive marketing, now word of mouth is the best form of marketing. But you as a business owner sometimes have very little control over what people say about you, apart from offering really great service. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go out there and share it. But what we also are seeing is that more and more, both the younger market, we were a part of some live focus groups 2 weeks ago, both the younger market and the older market are looking at reviews. Invite people to write reviews about you and your business and your staff on TripAdvisor and Facebook. Your signage at the shop, at your front shop is passive marketing, but you need to have it there so people know who you are and they can connect with you. Your websites are passive. People build a website and they think that they're going to be found. You need to have SEO and great social media to be able to drive people to your website. It's fundamental in what we do at Orange360, and these guys behind me are going to talk about that in more detail. Active marketing is talking about to your customer and building a relationship through social media. People are buying through social media right now. It's the number one thing that people are buying tickets pre-COVID, but certainly buying into online products through social media as well. Mainstream media. Print is not dead, but you need to be digitally connected. We've been working with what is now the R Group, and so this is the Women's Weekly Food edition, their Christmas edition. And we've secured the inside front cover to be able to make sure people understand that Orange is a cool place for summer this season when all of the beds at the beach are taken up. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone if you haven't heard from your customers for a while. It's part of continuing to build those relationships. And certainly what we learned through COVID was having that personal connection was so valuable. I'm going to skip past this slide, but this actually talks about understanding how you can use data. Data is an incredible thing to be able to understand what you can do in terms of being able to define your audience. Build a persona, give them a name, understand how you interact with them and what you mean to them. Understand what their pain points are and speak to them on a one-to-one basis. It's what we do at Orange360, and I'm sure it's what these guys are going to cover off. Understand which social media channels they're actually on and utilise those, because we all are time poor. This is an example of the digital, I'm almost there, Steve. The digital user journey. So this is how we ran through the Extend the Weekend campaign. It was when people were on public transport, we were making sure we were appearing in their Facebook feeds. We were then making sure that in 3 clicks they could either land on our site or they could land directly on our members' site, where they could either book in or inquire directly with them. Make sure that you also know who are the influencers in their consumer purchasing or decision making. In travel, it tends to be female, but in other areas you also need to know, certainly in terms of agriculture, sometimes is their agronomist or their banker. So understand who they are and how important. Very quickly now, the top 5 from Orange360 in terms of what we would encourage you to do is know your customer. Be active online. That means being consistently online and making sure if people are commenting on your content, make sure you're responding and replying to them. Invest in your content. Continue to invest in great photography, great videography. It's how you tell your story and be authentic to who you are when you're developing that content. And most importantly, now more than ever, you need to be bookable. So people can book ahead. If you're not bookable, they will find your competitor and book them instead.